Welcome to the Rhino Podcast, brought to you by Rhino Records. Interviews with your favorite artists and bands about the songs and albums you love. Here's your host, Rich Mahan.
On this episode of the Rhino Podcast, Robert DeLeo and Jeff Gutt from Stone Temple Pilots talk about their new album, PERDIDA. Hey friends, I'm sure that most of you have heard us talk about Rhino Insider by now, and maybe some of you haven't, maybe some of you haven't signed up yet, but Rhino Insider is our loyalty program for music fans in the United States. If you're 18 or over, you can sign up for free, and you can earn points by participating in activities and connecting with us online. You can then use your points to redeem for rewards, and you can get all kinds of great stuff, including turntables, vinyl, box sets, cool Rhino swag and apparel, exclusive content, discounts on music, and so much more. It's easy. Sign up at rhinoinsider.com. You'll get an email asking you to confirm. Once that's done, you can start earning points and you can engage with Rhino on social media. Tell us what kind of music you love. Read articles on rhino.com. Listen to Rhino podcasts like this one. Watch videos, or if you're just going to buy something, you get points for that too. So anyway, get the points for the time you're already spending with us. Get the credit you deserve. Sign up at rhinoinsider.com. Well, friends, as I mentioned earlier, on this episode of the Rhino Podcast, we have Robert DeLeo and vocalist Jeff Gutt from Stone Temple Pilots talking about their new album, PERDIDA. PERDIDA is a collection of 10 new songs. It's mostly acoustic, and its subject matter is all too poignant given the current circumstances we all find ourselves in. The pandemic hit after this interview, and so the talk about touring now seems a little bit out of place and fanciful. But as you'll hear, even before we all went on lockdown, the band was faced with having to amend their touring plans for this new album for other reasons. The approach the band took to recording PERDIDA presents their unique songwriting styles in a different light that lets these 10 songs sink in a softer, more subtle way. On PERDIDA, gone is the sledgehammer heavy rock that we love about so many STP anthems, and instead it's replaced by a more conversational approach that allows the songs on PERDIDA to worm their way into your head. So as the YouTubers say, without further ado, let's get right to it. Robert DeLeo, Jeff Gutt, welcome to the Rhino Podcast.
Well, thank you.
Gracias.
Congratulations on the new album, PERDIDA. Really like this album a lot. It's got a great vibe to it. Different feel than a lot of your other records, obviously because it's acoustic. But did it feel different to you when you were writing it?
No, it's pretty much the same process of writing. It was just a decision to keep those songs in that format and in that place. Usually when you write a song, you can take it to many different places, but I think it just felt most appropriate to kind of keep these songs and the sentiments of these songs in this place.
In its purest form.
In its purest form.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, this is your second album, Jeff, with the band.
Yes.
For folks that haven't heard the story, why don't you guys tell us about how you joined?
Well, they had put out a singer search online thing and invited the entire world to participate. But I was actually going overseas to do something else at the time, so I just kind of figured they were going to find the right guy and it was going to be perfect. And
Yeah.
And then I came back and they still hadn't found anyone. I hadn't heard anything about it. So I was like, I wonder if they found anyone. So I've started calling friends from New York and sent a guy out to meet Robert, and had a show in Detroit, and just as many ways I could get my foot in the door there. And then next thing I know, I got a phone call, and I came down and auditioned for the band. I think there was that 606
Yes.
studio, and I think a year and a half later, it took a long time, getting to know each other, and writing process. And that first record was made basically during my audition process. So most of it was recorded during that. So this was my first one with the freedom of being the singer.
Very cool. Robert, you guys have had such success with acoustic performances in the past. How come you guys hadn't made an acoustic album before this?
I ask myself that, but I think it just wasn't the right time. The train was kind of rolling and then stopping and rolling, and I don't think the focus there was there to actually do it. To keep songs in this format, it takes some discipline to kind of keep it there and make that work. It just felt like with what we were all kind of experiencing, at least what I was experiencing in life lately, I think it was a good time to kind of document those songs in that form. It just felt like a right time to do it.
Yeah. You guys have worked with Brendan O'Brien, other great producers, Don Was, but you produced Perdida on your own. How is it different working as your own producer?
This is, I think, the fourth record we've produced ourselves. And you kind of have to put your place in the position of a listener. There's a certain amount of ego that goes along with songs that you write, and if there's no one there to really, or you're not there for yourself to kind of put a cap on some things, I think it gets a little indulgent. And I think you just need to, we've been doing it long enough where we've learned so much, especially from Brendan O'Brien. I mean, making records with him was kind of like, going to school. He was a great teacher. I think we really learned what to do and what not to do. I'm really thankful for that.
Are you at the point when you produce yourself now that you're able to move more quickly since you're by yourself working on it?
Well, working with Brendan was very, very quickly done. He, it's sometimes nice to have that person that you have to put a lot of trust into. And Brendan was I recall those sessions and everything as being one of trust, and respect. And when you have someone like that, looking over you, that discipline hopefully rubs off, and you can self-produce and self-monitor yourself. Like I said, I feel thankful for that.
Yeah. Tell us about the album's title, Perdida, and what it means, how it relates to the lyrical content of the songs.
Well, Perdida means lost, and it just kind of encapsulates the theme of the record, I guess. The personal side of losing loved ones or missing loved ones or finding loved ones, and just all the things that you go through in your life and different situations that different people in the band were in. So it was just it's kind of more of a therapy session than anything for ourselves. Getting in there and getting to let some things out that I've had inside of me for a long time. So it was good to go to that place and put the raw nerve out there, and hopefully people can relate to that,
Well, I really enjoyed listening to it.
Thank you.
The vibes that you guys captured, I really felt it listening to it.
Right on.
Thank you.
It means a lot.
Yeah. You guys have said that you recorded this using a lot of vintage instruments. Did that help convey the feeling of the songs, using those different instruments that maybe you would usually use?
I think so. I think as a listener of music, I appreciate the tonalities of different, and just the character of different instruments, especially acoustic ones. They have their own personality. I think we all like to incorporate those into the music. Not only that, but the microphones and everything we kind of chose were old, ribbon microphones that kind of
very cool.
Gave it that smoother,
velvety touch.
Yeah. So, that's really, hopefully that, to me, there's nothing like sitting down and listening to a nice old Burt Bacharach record or something. It's like a warm silk blanket,
They've got a vibe.
They've got a vibe.
Yeah.
And that's how I like to enjoy recording our music. I'm always a fan of music. I went and saw and met Herb Alpert for the first time, and he's 85, and he he literally raised me. He's one of those people that I thank for raising me, because his music, the Wrecking Crew and all the guys that were involved in those records, they stand the test of time, and they were the milk in my musical bottle when I was little. And
Yeah. Hal Blaine, a master.
Hal Blaine, yeah, master.
Absolutely. We'll talk about how you guys recorded the record. And Robert, you played so many different instruments on this record. Do you guys like to track and get a basic track together and add to that, or
yes,
does it change song to song?
Well, whatever the song calls for, but we try to get as much as the main stuff together for a vibe. It's one of those things where, should we do a click? Should we not do a click? And we're like, the drummer keeps the time. Let's not use a click. It's like,
right.
Plus, when you record with acoustic instruments, that click, it can be your your nemesis.
Yeah,
I can hear it. I swear I can hear it.
Yeah.
And then you're up at night swearing you can hear it.
Well,
yeah, right.
There's always that point where you're playing and you go, is the click slowing down?
Well, ultimately, if it feels right, it is right.
That's right.
That's right. And it was really about feel. It was about feel. And, our music always has. And I mentioned Brendan again. We recorded all our records, live to 2-inch tape. That's how we started. And we still enjoy doing live,
Right. And you recorded a lot of this at your drummer Eric's studio in Pasadena.
Yes.
Does he have a Pro Tools setup, or does he have tape there as well?
Well, he has Pro Tools, but to combat that digital thing, I get pretty geeky about it. I use flat wound acoustic strings on my acoustics, so they're not real boinky and springy. And with those and ribbon mics, you kind of get that feeling of tape, but you have the modern approach of being able to go quicker with Pro Tools. I personally have a tape machine at my studio. I enjoy tracking, especially drums. There's something about drums on tape, the saturation of tape, that really kind of holds up to me. I love it.
Well, you mentioned older records. That's what you're used to hearing.
Absolutely. All those records, they're my Bible,
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, when you guys write, I know, Robert, you write a lot of the music, and Jeff, you wrote a lot of the lyrics. Do you hand off a melody to Jeff, Robert, or how do you guys work together?
I do.
Some songs you had a whole part, like was Miles Away, you had that whole chorus part.
Yeah.
And like the beginning of Fare Thee Well and all that. Like, he'll come in with with definitely some things there. Or some things are just a song name, and then we just go from there. But he'll have a melody for sure most of the time.
Usually when I write a chord structure, something will come to me. It always has. It's kind of a process of writing, and then it's always a thrill to hand off to a singer. And Jeff, especially, just being able to complete that vision that you're kind of hearing and seeing,
I think sometimes it's easier to work with somebody else after you've maybe hit a wall, you've got a good chorus, a good verse, and you can hand it to somebody else who puts a little gas in the tank.
Yes.
I equate it to painting, and, how do you know what color to put where and when is it finished and all those things.
Yeah.
Well, you mentioned Miles Away. That one has a really cool kind of gypsy sway, 3/4 time feel to it. The fiddle that's in there really adds to it, too. What influenced the feel of that song?
Loneliness. It was, a lot of those songs for me came from being on a tour in Canada in the wintertime. We were playing a lot of hockey rinks, and it was very cold and dark and cement and no windows. And I think I was kind of forced to grab an acoustic and start writing. I think that's where we kind of both got together on those songs, Jeff.
Yeah.
Right?
A lot of time spent in the shower with the acoustics.
Yeah.
We spent a lot of time in the shower together.
Clothed with the water off.
Yes. Great reverb, though.
You're so far from me, I can honestly say I'm longing for you, not just memories of you miles
We talked about instruments a little bit ago, and on that song and on She's My Queen, you play an instrument called a marxophone.
Yes.
What is a marxophone?
Marxophone, from what I understand, it was sold door to door in the 20s and then the teens. And I picked one up. It's kind of a combination between a zither and a hammered dulcimer. So it's got, it's been used on some tracks by The Doors and Love and Spoonful. And it's always been a great little texture in songs. It's an interesting instrument. I don't think I really play it properly. It's got bass strings and it's got strings that you hammer. But sometimes when you just pick it and put reverb on it, it's a certain tone that gives a kind of a, I don't know, kind of a Persian feel to me. It's just this beautiful sound that comes out of it. I've used it in "She's My Queen" after the first lyric that comes in. It kind of does yeah. It's a beautiful, beautiful instrument, beautiful sounding instrument.
She's my queen, just like a dream I could see her. She was meant for me, now I need her. She's my song, my melody. She's my queen, if I could have her.
Where did you find it?
You know, I found it on eBay.
Where else?
You just go to the place that has the most of everything, and you just go, weird instruments, and
exactly.
And stuff comes up. You're like, oh, that looks pretty cool. I could use that. I mean, the more the merrier. The more the merrier. I found, electrified kazoos on there that sound really cool through an amp with a wah-wah on it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so just stuff like that, electric kazoos and marxophones and slide whistles, and I'm just fascinated with world instruments, different kinds of instruments.
Fare Thee Well is the first track on the record. It's the current single. You guys are in the top 40. Congratulations.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, this song definitely sets the tone for the record. Acoustic opening by itself, and then the lyrics hit you, and you immediately get the first vibe of the record. I kind of heard a George Harrison influence in this one. And
yeah, George. I personally don't think you could really tell George Harrison's personality in writing until he, made All Things Must Pass, and you listen to that record, and you see the beauty in his writing. He's one of those people that there's always an underlying thing of I wouldn't say the Beatles, but of George for sure. Absolutely. I capoed that guitar up on the 5th fret too, so it might have had a certain tonality that, reminds you of something sonically,
Yeah, I think George liked capos too.
Yes.
Fare thee well, so long, I hate to say goodbye to you. I can tell you're gone by the way I'm missing you. Don't you realize you're everything to me?
Perdida, the title track of the record, it has perfect reverb on the nylon string guitar intro. I mean, it's just absolutely perfect. You couldn't dial it in any better.
Thank you.
But that nylon string really sets a tone for this kind of Spanish, almost flamenco vibe.
Yeah.
Is that the one you have right now?
Yeah, I actually have...
He has it on his lap right now.
You have the same guitar?
He has the same guitar on his lap right now, yeah. How's the reverb?
Not as good.
Yeah. Well, I think one of the things I wanted to do production-wise is just have one reverb.
One knob,
and just say more or less. And we picked a nice reverb and just went with that. And that's kind of what the record is just kind of old school, like more or less. And, just the right mix of it, I think was important to get that vibe that we were looking for.
Perdida, come and go. Stay with me tonight, but in the morning, please be gone.
think the production on this record is fantastic in the sense that it stays out of the way of the songs, but allows them to be conveyed in the best way to be absorbed and understood.
Oh, thank you. That means a lot because that was a thought process of doing that. And that means a lot to me because I think there's a certain feel that a nice, warm, rich reverb can add to an instrument or a piece of music.
Well, there's, that sense of space when you listen to music in a room or a live venue.
Yeah.
Being able to get the right space on a record is not an easy task.
Right. Yes.
Let's talk about Years. Robert, this is the song on the record that you sing lead on.
I do. That's the first time I've actually attempted to do that. Yes.
This song has a really cool fade in. And you don't hear that all the time, and I can't remember the last time I heard a song that had a fade in.
Yeah, it just felt like sometimes when you play chords together, you kind of want to hear them over and over, and I started. That's how it started. It started with. And I just wanted to play that over and over.
Yeah.
Forever.
Forever. There's certain chords to me that can really hit a soft spot inside your soul, and I always felt that way from a little kid. There were certain chords that it wasn't about solos for me when I was playing guitar. It was about chords and melody. That's kind of where that song lies, or was trying to lie.
On and on, the years go by. Now they're gone, I wonder why. We lived a lifetime only to say goodbye.
And some of the harmonies at the end remind me kind of that late 60s period Beach Boys.
Yeah, there's no way around that for me. Those were the first 45s I put on and started playing when I was a little kid. I was the youngest in the family, so when I was 5 years old, I was spinning the original Capitol 45s of I Get Around and Let 'Em Run Wild, and those songs. I'm so thankful that those were the first records that I picked up and started playing because it laid it all out. It laid it out melodically, and it laid it out song-wise, writing, and I think the world of Brian Wilson. I think he's really one of the greatest writers.
Oh, without a doubt.
Yeah.
Well, in the outro on that one, too, of course, you got that great alto saxophone solo on a really nice long fade.
Yeah, good call on that. I was listening to that yesterday.
Yeah. Well, I think what's really a cool thing is to be able to, it's really rewarding when you start incorporating instruments that you really love into your music. And that's something that I've always tried to do in the past with trumpet or oboe and violin. And, I have a great love for Paul Desmond. I was really just trying to get that feeling of, we got a gentleman in by the name of Chris Speed, and Chris played that solo. And he captured a real nice vibe there on that outro. I said, just keep it going. Just go. And just a long fade because it was so beautiful what he was playing.
Yeah, it was. I didn't want it to end.
Yeah.
And I was happy that it went on for a while.
Beautiful, beautiful playing.
How much thought was put into the order when you consider the lyrical material and the way you wanted it to flow and the story you wanted to tell?
I think it's always been an important thing to us with every record we've done from the beginning. We've always discussed, I think that's really what makes the journey a long, beautiful one is getting the right feel and the right keys of the songs, and that all that really goes hand in hand. That's one of those things that we've always paid attention to, have been very attentive to, is the the keys of the songs and how they end and where they begin, and it makes the journey really pretty delightful to when you get that right.
Yeah, I remember following along with lyrics and records and just,
Sure.
immersing myself in a dreamland. It's basically
Sure.
how I approached it.
Yeah. That's always been very important.
Well, the album ends with Sunburst. It ends kind of on an upbeat note with the track. But after the song ends, there's a short coda performed by a string quartet. What does this coda signify for the album?
That end string thing is actually we pulled that from the second verse or the second chorus of Perdida. So that is actually the string part that's in the second chorus of the song Perdida.
Oh, very cool.
And we just took that out, extracted that, and put it at the end to kind of signify this is the end of the journey. And it ends with it's so beautiful. I tracked that at my studio, actually. I tracked a wonderful violinist who's a friend of mine named Yutong Sharp. She's Chinese and just an amazing person, an amazing violinist. And she got a couple of her friends. She got a cello friend and a viola friend. And we tracked the three of them, and then we overdubbed it 8 times over.
Wow.
So it created that just from 3 people playing that. So
It's like Queen, but
Yeah,
instead
yes.
of vocal strings.
yes, it's amazing what you can do when you multi-track.
Well, you guys recently had to cancel the tour for Perdida. What happened there?
Yeah. I'd been I'd been dealing with a bulging disc for a while and kept getting shots to carry on. So it's been going on for a couple of years, and just kind of it was time to. I didn't really have a choice. It was one of those things that just happened.
Put it off as long as you could.
Yeah.
How are you feeling now?
I'm good. It's a little slow, but I'll be 100% soon-ish.
It's amazing when you go up and perform and put everything you have into a show and you're jumping around, and you can do that, but then you go into rehearsal and sit down on a stool for about 4 hours, and you realize that's what really hurts when you're sitting down.
Yeah, man.
But it's funny, Grace Slick said she could go out on stage hungover, feeling like she was going to die, but as soon as the music started and she started singing, she felt great.
I've done it.
Right.
I've done it.
Right. Well, it's the power of song, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, music is really powerful.
Absolutely.
Well, you guys are hitting the road after Jeff Heals Up, and you're starting out with an Australian tour with Live and Bush, right?
Yes, we are.
How long's that going to last?
I think it's 3.5 weeks. Yeah,
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Some rose tattoo kicking in there too.
Oh, cool.
That'd be good.
Yeah,
They're great.
Yeah.
And then this summer doing U.S. with Nickelback.
Yes, that's a long one.
That's a long one, yeah.
That's a long
tour.
one. But
I'll
it'll
see
be
you when you come to Nashville.
Oh, great. It'll be nice because we've been I think we've been working harder than we've ever worked before, and I think when you're doing 6 shows a night, 2 hours a night,
6 shows a week.
6 shows a week. I'm sorry, 6 shows a week, 2 hours a night. It's going to be nice to get at a little different pace here over the summer and enjoy the surroundings a little bit.
Yeah. Any plans to reschedule the acoustic Perdida tour?
Yes, for sure.
We plan on it, yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I'd love to hear these songs live.
Yeah.
Me too.
The action musicians, and it'll be a great thing, a great moment to be able to present these in their true form. It's gonna be hard, it's hard to go out and do an hour set where you got to fill so many STP songs into a set and somehow fit one of these in there. So I think we'll save it for its own special occasion.
Robert DeLeo and Jeff Gutt, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
I wish I might
Thanks again to Jeff Gutt and Robert DeLeo from Stone Temple Pilots for spending time with us for this episode of the Rhino Podcast, talking about their new album, Perdida. It's in stores now. It's out available. Stream it. You're going to love it. It's got a great laid-back 70s vibe, all kinds of great influences you can pick up on. It's really a fun listen. Check out their website to see when their rescheduled tour dates are going to be. And don't forget to sign up for Rhino Insider if you haven't already. That's at rhinoinsider.com. And make sure to visit rhino.com and check out all the great content and music we have for you there. Take care. Thanks very much for tuning in. Don't forget to listen and subscribe on iTunes so you don't miss the next Rhino Podcast. Executive producer for Rhino Entertainment, John Hughes. Produced for Rhino Entertainment by Rich Mahan Promotions. All rights reserved.